All right, we're talking about Scream 2 today, and I don't know if this is a hot take because I don't know the Scream community. Scream 2 is a better movie than Scream.
You think, huh?
I enjoyed it so much more. Like, the first one was very enjoyable, it was fun, but like, as we talked about in our last video, there was just pieces of it that I just really didn't like. There's stuff that kind of aged a little bit. This one, I enjoyed it front to back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually shocked that this movie is only a year older because people look somewhat like modern and normal. I don't know if that's the right wording, but like it makes everyone from the first movie look like 3 years younger. Like, I don't know if it's just the haircuts at the time or what, but just like everyone feels so much older and mature in the second one.
Yeah, it's crazy that it was only a year difference, but I think also they had filmed the first one a bit before that too, and I just feel like that first one is just so 90s with the aesthetic and the hair especially. It's like that old like Monica and Rachel haircut that like felt like it was like a 40-year-old mom's haircut that like a 20-year-old was wearing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of weird, but so 90s. I feel like this one they really got to a better place. I feel like everyone looks their best here until we get to Scream 4. Scream 3, some people calling you out, Gail, have some really questionable fashion and hair choices. But I'd say Scream 2, big improvement on looks for everybody.
Are you saying that David Arquette gets a glow up? Because in this movie, he's just like dressed like my dad.
Yeah, this one, and he's got more of that limp that's like really, and the limp is different in every movie, I will say, but also, I mean, he gets stabbed in every fucking movie, so I guess they're just hitting nerves again. This poor guy can't catch a break.
I'm just assuming he's going to be in a wheelchair by the end of the franchise.
I feel like he has a line in Scream 5 that's like, I've been stabbed 9 times, okay? I'm not doing this again. Like, I don't want to deal with this. Please leave me alone.
Like, I'm assuming by Scream 6, when we see it this year, he's going to be like Stephen Hawking's. Like, he's just going to be like
a machine,
totally immobile, and like he has to blink to the computer, and then you get the robot voice because there's only so many nerves that you could get stabbed through.
I mean, I say the same thing with literally like fucking, especially I would say with Sidney, because she's the real target getting stabbed, but I think Dewey just ends up getting more fucked up than her each movie, but she still gets stabbed. She's got to just have like fucked up scars too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's to live through all these movies, man, it's not going to be pretty. I feel like each movie they think they're going to kill Dewey off, and then they're like at the end scene, they're like, let's wheel him out on the stretcher again. Come on, that guy, he's got like eight more lives now.
So he's like Kenny from South Park.
Yeah.
He dies every episode, but then he's back.
It is literally like that. And I love that, like, a lot of times it's like he just gets himself into trouble, like, on his own before even, like, he gets attacked. Like, he's running down the stairs in the auditorium to help Gail, and he just trips over his own foot and, like, falls and, like, fucking just, like, hits every stair on the way down. I was like, dude, what the fuck? Get your shit together, Dewey.
I guess it's not a death. It looked like a death. His death scene looked hardcore. That was rough. That was good.
It gets worse for him every movie, and you're like, how the fuck is this guy still alive, dude? God, who knows? He must be wearing like 8 bulletproof vests or something. But did you like his character a bit more in this movie?
No.
No? Still?
No.
You're not on the David Arquette train?
No, I'm still just totally confused by him.
I think he's sweet and he's so cute.
I love how the movie opens his character's reintroduction. He's just lost. He's just out in the corner, like lost with his limp. It's just like, what are we doing? And then I'm like, wait, is he in love with Sidney? But like, no.
It's like a brother because his sister was best friends with her. But he doesn't ever mention the sister ever again in any of the movies. It's pretty weird.
Well, the sister that died, right?
Yeah, Tatum from the first movie.
The garage door.
Yeah, the garage door bitch. And then I just think him and Gail have great chemistry. You don't buy it still?
It's better in this one.
Yeah.
It's just David Arquette. He's just kind of weird.
He's just kind of doofy all the time.
Nice streaks.
He's so cute though. Like his little music is so innocent. I loved Randy in this movie, and I have to say I think that's the death that really upset me the most.
Yeah, pour some out for Randy.
God.
I didn't think he was going to go. So it's funny. I was saying in the first movie, I thought Randy was your spirit animal. And in
Yep.
this movie, I felt like Randy was my spirit animal.
Mm-hmm.
And mainly because he does all of the rules and categorizing of movies. Like they argue, like, what's a better sequel than the original?
That
and people
whole
start
discussion.
and he just starts knocking them off. And then someone's like, I got it. Empire Strikes Back. And then without a hiccup, he's just like, it was a planned trilogy, doesn't count. Like,
Yeah, I know. I love it.
That is exactly what I would say. Like,
yeah, he's definitely. And then you would also get killed for talking mad shit about the killer.
probably.
Billy Loomis. Fucking Billy Loomis. What a little mama's boy. And it's like, oh God.
he needs to come back. Just
Billy?
no. Randy.
Oh.
Just
Well,
use movie
yeah.
logic, bring him back.
He has like a video recording that is in Scream 3, and then he's like referenced later in movies. But like, yeah, I wish that he hadn't died. I wish Matthew Lillard hadn't died. I mean, if they hadn't died, they could have been brought back. Those were two of my favorite people. I was so disappointed with Randy, but like, it did up the stakes. Like, I get why they had to do it. You know, they got to kill off one of the main people every movie, or else it's just like, wow, they've got fucking superpowers. You know?
Yeah, then it just becomes the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Yeah. I was curious though. I wanted to ask you, if you were in Sidney Prescott's shoes and like you had that first thing in fucking high school, right? The whole first movie massacre. Then you go to college, you start thinking, I'm safe, everything's okay. It happens again. Where the fuck are you going next? Like, what's your next move? I'm going to be hiding under a rock, like in a fucking another country where nobody knows my name. Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would probably be dumb just as a guy and be like, this isn't connected.
Yeah.
And then I would get killed.
This is why they're called final girls and not final men. There's very few final boys.
Look what happened to Randy. He knew all the rules and still died.
I know. He didn't. He couldn't get the girl, but I think that's really what killed him, because I know he didn't mention it, but I do think if you're pining for the main girl, but you're just the side character who's never going to be the romantic co-lead, you're going to die. It's the only way to get rid of your character, or else it's just too sad to watch him sit there and suffer all this time, you know? I think that, I mean, nobody could really make it through all of these. It's enough, but I think one thing I love about Sidney Prescott is that by the third movie, when the killers are giving her their spiel, she's like, okay, let's just do this. Like, I've heard this shit before. Like, fucking get on with it. Because it's like, yeah, how many fucking people are going to do this to you and go through the whole evil plan every time at the end? Does nobody realize what's happening here?
I think it's safe to say that no one should feel comfortable or safe if Dewey or Dwight is looking out for us.
Yeah, it's Dewey. He can call himself Dwight all he wants, but it's fucking Dewey. And that fits his character to a T. I do believe he ends up making like sheriff like later on. So he doesn't even get that much better. He's literally like not a good cop, but I think that's the charm of him. He tries, he's a good guy. That's all that matters.
He just fails his way to success. I don't understand it.
He just accidentally survives each movie.
So yeah, this movie, I can't believe that they put this movie out less than a year after the first one. Like, the release date for the first one was December 20th, 96, and then this one was released the following year, December 12th.
Yeah, crazy.
Like, usually when you're on that tight of a turnaround, the quality drops off a lot. But I thought this movie was just so good all the way through. It was consistent. There wasn't really a ton of stuff that like aged poorly. The budget was higher for this movie. You know, overall it performed essentially like the exact same as the first movie in terms of box office.
I think the big thing is that Kevin Williamson had already had the idea for Scream 2 ready to go and like just needed to execute. So like that's one of the reasons that like I think it turned out so much better, is because he kind of already had it in his mind of like, okay, now we're going to college and like here's the big thing. And it did end up changing a few times apparently through the production of the movie. I know that like there were different killers at different points in time in the script and that they had to keep changing it. I don't know if it was like one of the first movies that had like their endings leak and they had to change things because fans got to see what happened. And so, like, I believe her friend Hallie in the movie was originally one of the killers.
Oh.
Yeah, which is like very strange because I feel like she does not, there's no scenes that seem like a little bit like, like if
Yeah.
they changed halfway through production, like maybe that was still supposed to like imply something.
Yeah.
So it was just like some funny stuff like that kind of switched it around. But I still love the twist. And I think that I think we should start with the opening scene because I think starting off with like that after the Drew Barrymore one is just like, how do you top that? And they fucking found a way, honestly.
They did. I was so surprised how much I liked the idea of the first one. The whole movie is about horror classics, the big horror names. And then the second one, it starts with them at the movie theater with the movie Stab. It's like a commentary on the success of the original movie. So now the original movie is now part of the mythos of all of these horror classics.
The addition of the Stab movies is just perfect because it allows them to, every movie in the franchise from now on refers to the older ones and like makes fun of them for like different things that you're like, that's just so cool because movies, like especially in horror, they weren't doing that. So the fact that they're able to take it so meta, and then even talking about like joking about Black people not being in horror, and then like literally they're in the first scene, like, and it's two Black people talking about it. I just like, I loved it. I thought it was great. Also, I love Jada Pinkett Smith in this opener. She's just fantastic.
That opening scene would be a lot different nowadays.
Yes.
Will Smith would be slapping some Ghostface around.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't be having that. I will say this scene always, like, I will, as effective as it is, it's still so effective, no matter how many fucking million times I've seen this movie. But every time I'm still always reminded of the stuff from Scary Movie. And I
watched Scary Movie immediately after watching.
Because I'm just like that scene at the theater with Brenda, and it's so good. And so and the audience is like so annoyed because she's talking that they start stabbing her. It's just perfect. It's so good. It's amazing. And I think that opening scene really was just, wow, how do they top it? I don't know. That was it. I think they did it perfectly.
The whole thing is like over the top, like people going crazy in the theater during the movie. It's just like, what's going on? And then like I took down notes. I'm like, what's going on in this movie theater? People are running around in the lobby during the movie. They're getting popcorn after the movie starts. Like, who are these people?
They're screaming and like running around and like throwing, and then they're all wearing the fucking masks and shit, like the killer. It's like that would never be handed out at a theater. There's no way. That would be way too sketch.
There's been some pretty bad things that have happened in movie theaters since then.
It
wouldn't work so well nowadays.
No. I mean, it just seems a lot. And also, I've been to a lot of horror movies, and I've never been to one like that. People are screaming for sure, but not like standing in the movie theaters. It's not like we're at a rock show.
I did think though that it was funny because like it's a whole commentary on like fandom and people going crazy for these movies. It made me think of seeing Marvel Endgame in theaters and like people cheering and stuff there. I was like, this isn't that far off. It's a little off, but it's not that far.
We haven't done that for horror movies yet, but like give me a brand new Jason we can get behind and I might be screaming in the theater like that. I don't know, but I love the addition of the Stab movies. I think they're just such a great little addition. Also, I don't know if you know, but Robert Rodriguez is the guy who directed the Stab movie within the movie that stars Heather Graham as the Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
And I really I just thought that was really funny. In the newest movie, they reference that Ryan Johnson wrote Stab 8 and the fans hated it. And I just thought that was fucking hilarious. They're like the guy, the Knives Out guy. And I'm just like, that's fucking hilarious, taking in like Last Jedi stuff and bringing it in. But that's what's great about the Stab movies. It allows them to even critique the fucking fans, which is just, I mean, especially nowadays, we need the criticism.
Well, and speaking of the Stab movie, I loved later in the movie when they're watching it on the TV and Luke Wilson is playing Billy.
Yeah, he's doing it so good. It's just like so. It's like not even like he's doing it that exaggerated. Like that literally is just exactly like Ski Ulrich in the first movie.
Yeah. It just is so funny.
The whole movie within the movie is really, really great. And the cool thing is that you see more of those throughout like the rest of the series. So like Scream 4, they have like an event called the Stabathon and they watch all of the Stab movies.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I love this. I want to watch the Stab movies. I would fucking watch the shit out of them.
Let's make them real.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I love this idea of like someone making a real world sequel to a movie in real life, like writing the script themselves, basically, because that's really the whole plot of Scream 2, right? Is that someone's making a sequel, but they're doing it in real life in the hopes that they'll get a movie out of it, which of course, as we know, with all the Stab movies, that's how it keeps going. They keep making movies out of that shit, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this movie a lot more as a whole. I will say the first one has more scary like moments. There's a lot more of those, and those are great in the first one. The only scene from this one that I thought was like that level of scary was when she was in the play, when she was performing, and
that was good.
I was like, oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's a really good one. The cast is also really great. I think I really love Jerry O'Connell as the boyfriend. He's just so cute, and the fact that like you're used to Billy from the first one, so you're like, it's got to be him, right? I mean, I don't know if you had remembered any of the twists in this movie, but were you surprised, or who did you think?
So I honest to God don't even know if I've ever saw this movie before. I felt like it was going to be Timothy Olyphant.
He did have the creepy vibe.
It was the vibe. It was the look. Like Billy looked like the villain. And so I'm like, all right, based off that logic, this guy's the villain.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a disappointment. Like the twist is better in the first one. This one, I thought it was a little weird because it was like he was in the first third of the movie and then just gone for the rest of the movie. Yeah. And then he pops up at the end. And then I didn't expect Billy's mom to come back into play, but I thought that made sense as to why somebody would come back trying to kill Neve Campbell again.
Exactly. I know. It's pretty interesting how they like, I think that must be a change of the script that caused that, because Timothy Olyphant, like, of course he's the killer, but like he's also not really in the movie very much for a while. And so then you're kind of like, okay, but who is the killer? So I'm pretty sure at one point Jerry O'Connell, the boyfriend, was also the killer with her friend, which I thought would have been interesting.
I did want to say that although the Timothy Olyphant reveal is not that impressive or crazy, he does have the best line in the whole movie when the mom reveals herself, and then he's just like, it's gonna rock.
Yeah, he just really gets like, that's like the best scene for his character, and then he just gets killed. We're like, come on, dude. It's funny how like creepy they made him look with how attractive he is. And I was just like, man, like I knew he was going to be the killer. I thought Billy's mom was a good twist, and like it totally fit with like Friday the 13th, the original being Jason's mom. Like I love that whole twist. And her eyes in that last scene, it's hilarious. It gets me every time. They're still like bugging out of her fucking head. She looks like she has cartoon eyes. Don't you think?
She looks like the guy from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes, exactly. Really upsetting. But also, I don't know how I feel about Cotton Weary. Like, I think he's good in this movie of like, you know, you kind of think it's him for a long time. But I just feel like he ends up being like, he's a very nothing character that like just is kind of surprising that they had him stick around in such a prominent role.
He is weird because he seems like he has no clue what's going on at any moment. He's just totally like oblivious.
Yep.
Or like, it's not naive. Like, it's just weird. Like at the end when all the stuff happens, he's just like, oh, well, that was crazy. Like he just shot someone.
He's like, oh, it'll make a hell of a movie. It's like, oh, really? What about all the people that just fucking died horribly? That's really nice. If somebody had said that nowadays, they'd be like, what the fuck is with this guy? I mean, that's the thing is like, is he supposed to be sympathetic? He doesn't come across that way. He comes across as like a psycho. Like everything in this movie points to him being a murderer. I'm sure he was one in the original script. Like it must have been. Because he's given creep vibes.
When I watched the movie, I felt like Kevin Williamson wrote that character to be like a red herring. Like,
yeah,
we'll think it's him, but like, you know, it's going to come around. and then Wes Craven read it a different way and just went full bore with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was some sort of misdirect that happened.
He's like Billy. Like, he's just villainous the entire time, and then at the end he's just aloof.
Yeah. And then it's like, what the fuck? And then he's in the third one for a little bit, but it's just, yeah, it's a very nothing character. I think like twists overall, like the first one I think is really good. I think it'll be interesting to see where you are on this one compared to the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say definitely one of the most underwhelming Ghostface reveals. But for opening scene, I think this one's up there with the original, like in the top 3 of all of them, I would say.
In my first time watching all of these rankings,
yeah,
we'll do opening scene. The first one is still number 1. That opening scene is just awesome. And then the second one is a close 2.
Yeah, really close.
It's the only place it can be as of right now. But
it's like it's probably going to be a tough fight to move that one down. It's pretty high up there.
As a whole movie, Scream 2 is at the top of the list. Scream 1 second. Scream 1 in my mind is more of a, I want to watch this scene. I'm going to go to YouTube and watch this whole scene.
There's just nothing like watching the first one for me, but it is interesting how different each of the movies are from each other. But yeah, I'm curious to see how your rankings evolve as we continue these watches, because mine change all the time based on which ones I'm watching, because I'm just like, they're all really good. They're all quality. It's hard to pick. It's hard to rank them.
Oh, last thing I wanted to add, because we talked about how these movies are kind of time capsules of when they're made. I think the time capsule moment in this movie has to be when they go to the college party and they're listening to Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Oh my God.
Well, plus like all the way that like the sorority girls are dressed, it's like they're dressed like their moms from the 1950s or something. Like that's the one thing that I'm always like, that just feels kind of old school. And I did appreciate, actually, I wanted to mention too, I appreciated when Jerry O'Connell does the serenade in the lunchroom. And he's like,
he does the Top Gun.
Now I understand the reference. I never understood it. I just thought he was singing a song to her. And then I realized after watching Top Gun, I get that. Hey.
The difference, though, is that this one is actually charming and cute, whereas Top Gun, it's creepy because that's a stranger.
Yes, he is doing this to his girlfriend, and I think we can all agree that that is perfectly acceptable. And I still I think even as suspicious as they want you to be about him, after that song, you're just like, I'm in. He's not the killer. The killer wouldn't be able to sing like that. He wouldn't be that charming.
Yeah, I think this movie tried to play off who is the killer a little too much.
Yeah.
Maybe intentionally, because of the first one. Like, now we're all just thinking about it, and Kevin Williams like, I'm gonna make you guys think everyone's the killer. But
I know. And that's the thing, is you would think almost like for the Ghostface reveals that it'd just get easier to predict from the second movie on, because we've already seen the first one and like had that shock. So it's like, how are they going to keep shocking us each movie? But I think they have, like, especially 4 and 5. I think 3 is pretty shocking, but I think 4 especially was the most shocking in my opinion. And like, that's why I think that's my favorite of all the Screams. So I'm curious to see what you think when we get there. Well, we still got Scream 3 to go to first.
We're going to try and bring a special guest with us who especially loves Scream 3 to join us in this conversation.
Yeah, we'll need that, because like, I mean, people online have been talking about how, you know what, Scream 3 is not that bad, guys. And I agree, it's not bad, not at all. It's not my favorite, but I'd like to see the other perspective. I want to see somebody who loves it.
And did you tell me that Scream 3 is the first one that Kevin Williamson did not write?
Yes.
But he comes back for Scream 4.
Yeah.
So he does a Dan Harmon in Community. He takes a season off and then comes back.
I think he had a conflict, so he wasn't able to do it. And his idea that he had for Scream 3, they ended up doing something totally different.
Well, remember to subscribe if you're not already, so you can join us when we cover Scream 3 next week on our road to Scream 6.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're out here.